Hey everybody, what's good? Locksmith is a rapper from Richmond, California, just across the bay there. He is notorious for these freestyles and the battle raps that tell nothing but the truth. He's made a bunch of appearances on Shade 45 and he's performed at the BET Awards, not as a shooter, as a performer, as a rapper. Over 20 million plays on YouTube and over 30 million plays on Spotify. This is a video he just came out with today. It's called America Part 2. Get ready, because this guy does not hold back. He does not pull his punches. While we watch this video, I'm going to be working on a kid's book. But before we get into it, remember, go to coconutjustice.com and get some clothes that I think would look good on you. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Look, we are now in a state of a great deception, where facts are not facts and reality is perception, and everything.
Real quick, yeah, what he's saying, already 2 lines into it, we're being lied to. It's amazing how many times something can happen, and depending on who you listen to, it's always something else, right? And the right points to the left and says it's their fault, and then the left points at the right and says it's their fault, and then they manipulate the facts to get in the way of us being able to make an informed choice. And that's why I think, like the powers that be, they play together. And we saw in a different video where there was some dinner or whatever, and all the rich people were, left leaning and right leaning. They're all sitting right next to each other and laughing at how much money they have. They have the money and the power to manipulate facts and make it seem like everyone is against each other. And if you notice, everyone who is not in politics and everyone who doesn't have a lot of money and a lot of power, we're all kind of just sitting here looking at each other like, what the hell are they talking about? So let's see where he goes with this. But yeah, basically the powerful have the ability to affect, not change, but information. We see this all the time. We see oil companies come out with these studies that they have manipulated, and they've taken out certain things, and it goes deep.
Read on your feed is feed, and politicians cross party lines to keep us deceived. You see, historically, black people have been traditional, but white Democrats say blacks have to be liberal. So we adopt the co-op, trying to avoid a fall. But if you handpicked our choice, then that's not a choice at all.
Right. And maybe he's making mention to Kamala and even not necessarily Trump. Trump just comes in like a bull in a china shop and he knocks everything over, and everyone thinks that he's entertaining. And so they're voting for him because a lot of people are voting for him because he's entertaining. But the whole Kamala situation where she slid in like right when Joe tapped out, I'm not 100% sure if that's legal, but it's gone through. And so I think that's what Locksmith is saying. Like, do we really have a choice here? Because the powers that be are the ones that put people up there. And then when we vote for, say, for example, like, I'm not 100% sure how that story played out, but when Bernie Sanders ran for president, and then like all of a sudden Hillary was still the nominee, even after it looked like Bernie had won the Democratic side of the race. You know what I mean? So I think that's what he's mentioning here. We have to pay attention, and we have to continue to be diligent and talk to each other about things and about reality and about the truth, because there's people out there making a lot of money off of these new terms that they made, fake news and alternative facts and all that stuff.
About Republicans, they just want to divide us. Yes, they're racist too, but they don't pretend to like us, so we don't pretend to.
Okay, so yeah, so earlier he was talking about Kamala and how nobody really checked on us and nobody said, hey, Joe's not feeling up to the task, so we're just going to slide her in. We never got to say anything. She was just put in front of us, you know? Republicans have forever, they have used fear and divisiveness to literally to divide us and to have us fighting against each other. But it's the people with all the money that, you know, that's how they obfuscate our vision of each other. And I've said this in the past, where you can't tell me who my neighbors are. My neighbors are cool as hell. We don't match, you know what I mean? We don't match, but they're still cool. And I'd like to think that I'm cool with them. Everyone waves and gives my dog treats and stuff. And, you know, we live in peace. And that's why I refuse to have like that silliness that happened at Madison Square Garden where they're talking about Puerto Ricans and all that stuff. Oh, that's for another video. But Tony Hinchcliffe was just doing his version of comedy. My only problem is you shouldn't do that kind of comedy in front of a bunch of racists. And that's what Locksmith is about to talk about. These people sit in rooms and they come up with their own versions of things that are happening. And then they point fingers at the Puerto Ricans, at the blacks, at the people coming over the border and all this stuff. They always try to put people against other people. And that's been their method of operations for the longest time. Watch History Channel, read any kind of history book, and you'll see how, especially the rich and powerful, they will pull out any trick in the book to obfuscate, to pollute what they're doing, and not for anything, but once we can see. And once the lights are being turned on in all these dark ass rooms, we're starting to see the Epsteins, we're starting to see the Diddys, we're starting to see the Weinsteins and all that stuff.
Friends are festered by their feet. The only thing worse than a wolf is one dressed like a sheep. So you can be a sheep and go sleep with the shepherd. But regardless of what they hide, they both support genocide. They both support assigned bills that kill black and brown children. Replace gravestones with luxury homes and buildings.
Yep.
With the shepherd. But regardless of what they hide, they both support genocide. They both support assigned bills that kill.
The United States makes a lot of money off of wars, supplying wars. Whether or not they start them, most of the time they do. But there's a lot of people here that like war because war makes money. And not even just war out in some other country. Like there's a war here happening here too. That's why the police have tanks and all of these super armored vehicles and stuff like that. It looks like they're preparing for something big. You know, it's very strange to see. And I understand that there's a lot of people in the streets that have very powerful weaponry, but that's why we need to have rules against having, like, there's no reason for people to have rocket launchers and grenades and machine guns, and people are going to be like, no such thing as machine guns. Shut the, you know what I'm talking about. There's no need for that. You don't need something that spits out 60 rounds a second to protect your home. Your home is not that big. And if you need that many bullets to kill someone who may or may not be breaking into your house, maybe you need a lot more practice. And don't get me wrong, I'm pro-gun. I just don't want everyone to have it. Same exact situation as cars. Sure, cars are helpful and they help us get around, and everyone who passed a test should get a car or should have a car if you can afford one or afford the upkeep and the insurance and all that stuff. But at the same time, I don't need everyone to have a car. There's some people that are just terrible drivers. There's some people that unfortunately are too old to drive. There's some people that can't see straight. There's people that have medical issues, like they might slip into convulsions and stuff like that. You know, not everybody needs to have a gun. Not everyone needs to have a car.
Brown children replace gravestones with luxury homes and buildings is gross. How they netting in Benjamin search Yahoo for the brazen fundraising to push imperialism.
Yep. So what he's saying is All these folks with all this money, they don't care about anything. They will dig up grave sites and stuff like that. We see it all the time. Here in the United States, if you are digging to make a home or a building or anything and you run into fossils or bones or anything, you have to stop and you have to call the authorities. There's a lot of people out there that think that that is getting in the way of progress. They don't respect anything except money. And that's what Locksmith is saying. To push imperialism. Imperialism, we've learned in a previous video, imperialism, white supremacy, colonialism, all that stuff is all the same thing. It all boils down to white supremacy.
They use a war machine that's worth trillions to colonize civilians and spread materialism.
Yep.
Remember 2020 when we was in isolation? Nobody could go to work, so the government had to pay us. Then they used our own trauma to play and manipulate us up until election day just to sway us in their favor.
Again, that's, you know, we talk about that. We talk about how the powers that be, they force us into something, or they make decisions for us, and then we just have to abide by them. Otherwise, we get punished. And that's what he's pointing out.
Basically made crime legal, and it's not the rich that suffer, it's only the disenfranchised people. To drive down the property value, ignite fear, buy it for cheap, then make a huge profit in 5 years.
This takes me back to like redlining and stuff like that. Back in the day, and it's funny because back when Trump was only a real estate developer and only a slumlord, that's how him and his father made all that money. And then they got together with his daughter's husband. I can't remember his name, the dorky one that made $2 billion after he left office because he had connections to the Saudis. $2 billion. Anyway, back to my point, redlining. So back in the day here in the States, if you didn't know this, real estate folks would draw a red line, and it would literally be the white neighborhood and the black neighborhood. If those real estate people wanted to make a killing, like what he's talking about, what they would do is they would sell a house to a black family, and then they would go to all the white families and say, hey, you better sell because black families are moving in. And then those people would freak out, and then they would sell their house to the black families. And then those white folks would move to a different neighborhood and get different houses and all that stuff. And then the cycle would repeat because then they would go in to the new black neighborhood, and then they would gentrify it. And then they'd make even more money because now you're starting to move the white folks back in and the Starbucks and all that stuff. And then they'd make a killing off of the same houses that they just sold to the black folks that used to belong to the white folks before them. It's a racket, dude. It's a racket.
But there's a threat, Project 2025. We've been in the projects.
Project 2025. There is zero good news in Project 2025. Project 2025 is put in words, probably everything that Locksmith is talking about, but they're talking about going like straight up white Christian nation stuff. And people, this is why you need to study history. People came to the United States, or the new land before it was the United States. They came here to get away from all the hardcore religious folks that were just oppressive. And that's very not Christ-like. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to live and let live. You're supposed to give people the shirts off your back, and you're supposed to be beneficial to society, and you're supposed to be a good Christian. But we're loaded with Christians here that all they are is money hungry, power hungry, and manipulative.
Managed to survive. We've been marginalized and denied our rights to the things they scared of. We lived our whole lives through. They use black people like political ping pongs, parade out paid celebrities just to sing.
And that's why black folks are looking at the Republican Party. The Democrats have taken us for granted, and at the end of the day, they don't really do anything for us. So why are we going to continue to vote for folks that don't do anything for us? And there's another large segment of the black population that I have spoken to that say that they're not going to vote. They're never going to vote until there's someone that they want to vote for or someone that has proven that they're going to be making change. Because here we are, 2024 on the brink of 2025. We're about to get another president, and all these presidents have done the same thing. They talk a good game, but the struggle continues. Poor people are getting poorer, rich people are getting richer. It's all a game, and people like Locksmith are letting you in. That's what Locksmith is doing. He's giving it to you straight. It's right here. There's no double entendres. There's no wordplay. There's no nothing. This is facts. Sure, he's putting it over a dope-ass beat and he's making it rhyme, but these are straight facts.
Pay celebrities just to sing songs. It seems wrong, but the fear's intact. Cause the puppet strings are green and there's a pact with the bureaucrats. They all follow that dogma to get Parma. They all have to answer to karma and big pharma. They all fall in line for their donors and lobbyists just...
Exactly. So, again, taking a look at big pharma, tell me anyone else that can poison. Well, actually, Jay-Z did it. Jay-Z poisoned his neighborhood and then he became successful. So are these pharmaceutical companies. These folks make so much money that it's no big deal for them to break the rules and then pay the fines because they know that they're going to get 10, 20, 100 times that value right back.
And a private agenda, so it's not so obvious. This is the modern day Roman Empire, controlling most of the map, but it still has to collapse. Landed a pill poppers, junkies, and meth heads. I think it's safe to say America's on her deathbed.
So there you have it, Locksmith, America Part 2. And unfortunately, it's just all the same stuff that we've heard in the past. It's all the same stuff. The poor are getting poorer, the rich are getting richer. The sick are getting sicker. Pharmaceutical companies are getting richer. Politicians lie to us, and then they get mad when you fact check them. We've seen it. We've seen Trump get upset. We've seen J.D. Vance get upset. And not that Kamala's hands are clean. She lies too. At what point are normal people going to just stop fighting with each other and start holding people to account for what they say that they're going to do? As a country, we need to do better at holding our politicians and the powerful to account, because if you say that you're going to do something, you damn well better. And this thing about everyone sitting in the House of Representatives and not doing anything for 2 years straight. I dare anyone watching this video, I dare you to go to work for 2 years and not do anything and see what happens. It's ridiculous that artists have to continue to come out with music like this. The style of music changes, but the message remains the same. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and politicians are as dirty as they come. We're going to be taking a look at way more stuff from Locksmith. And this is a fun fact. Locksmith's mom grew up in Chicago. I don't think she was born in Chicago, but I know she's actually from Chicago. We're going to be taking a look at way more Locksmith stuff because my guy just brings the facts. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and share it with each and every one of your friends. If you want to come hang out with me while I work on creative projects and we'll watch videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And if you notice, there's a little bell right next to the subscribe button. If you click that, you'll be alerted every time I come out with something new. Don't forget to go to coconutjustice.com and get yourself some really neat clothes. And with that, I'm out.
Coconut Justice.